Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DeFurio with Keys to the Shop, and welcome to another edition of Shift Break. I want to say this series, is sponsored by some lovely folks, starting with the folks at La Marzocco espresso machines. So La Marzocco has been making espresso machines by hand in Florence, Italy since 1927. But in that time, in short order, they were known as, and are still known as, the ones to deliver beauty, dependability, just a solid machine, and innovation born from the real needs of coffee shops, their users who are needing the espresso machine to work very, very well all the time. I'm recommending these machines all the time to my clients. They just work. And so I would encourage you to go to lamarzocousa.com and check out what they have to offer, whether you're talking about something with a lot of technology built in or something a little bit more stripped down and simple. 2, 3, 1 group heads, they have all what you need there. And reach out, info@lamarzocousa.com. Their salespeople are great. They'll help you get the right machine for your cafe, lamarzocousa.com. Now, also, our friends at rattleware.com have the smallwares that you need for your cafe to run in a consistent way. So when smallwares don't work, the whole place tends to shut down. A little thing makes a big difference. You'd be surprised at how much a little bit of frustration with smallwares just compounds over time. So that is the thing that Rattleware is all about fixing, with having smallwares that just work. Things like knock boxes, pitchers, whisks, shot glasses, and the like. So check them out, rattleware.com. Now, today's episode, funny enough, and this doesn't happen to me very often actually, but I was laying awake in bed, and mainly because we're getting all these like tornadoes and things here in Kentucky. It's been an adventure. My wife and son and I have hunkered down in the safe place in our house, the central bathroom closet, more often than we'd care to. So I'm just, up, and lightning is flashing, and I get this thought about how every problem that a coffee shop has can, and it often does, stem from an inability of somebody who observes the problem doing something about the problem. It is not that problems spring up. They happen. That's just the way it is. But it's inaction that solidifies these things as habit. And we tacitly will, based on our inaction, allow these things and basically approve of them. So if you don't like something, for example, it's happening all the time in your cafe. Just keep on forgetting this. They're always making it that way, and I don't want them to make it that way, and so forth. Months and months of this. Oh, if only they could just stop doing that. The thing is, if it's still going on, then you have approved of it in some way. And there is a history of inaction that has led to this thing becoming an institution in your business, which is rather toxic and a dysfunctional institution, right? So now the question is why? Why is it so hard for us to take action and address issues when they come up? You could say it comes down to imposter syndrome in a way, because we don't feel confident as it is being a coffee shop owner, being a leader in the cafe. We're just figuring this stuff out. We know ourselves very well. Even those of you or us who don't have the most self-awareness, you still have enough awareness about the things that you don't know that it would manifest some kind of imposter syndrome where you're saying, I'm just figuring this out. It's hard to take the next step and actually direct somebody to do something differently than the way they're doing it, because what happens when you're in this insecurity mindset is that you end up catastrophizing, forecasting worst case scenarios. If I talk to them about the way that they're behaving behind the bar, then they're going to quit, and then I have to work the bar, and if I have to work the bar, then I can't this, that, and the other, and then the business closes, and you see it just kind of in a flash makes you think that you can't address these things, that you basically have to almost through osmosis or some kind of telepathy make them do different things. Or passive aggressive leadership is born from this inability to take direct action, confident action frequently taken without an emotional buildup and confidence that you're doing this in a good spirit. That is the kind of communication hygiene we need in order to prevent a buildup of toxicity and dysfunction in the business. But we feel awkward. We feel like, it's like in middle school asking somebody out to a dance or something. Every time I don't want to have that difficult conversation. And there's tons of books written about how to have difficult conversations. We've had these conversations around conversations on the show many times. You'll find links in the show notes, especially with our friend Tom Henschel of the Look and Sound of Leadership podcast, and Kwame Christian, a good friend of mine from the Negotiate Anything podcast. And the point is, though, that you can learn all there is to know, but dissect everything there is to know about why you don't take action in the cafe when you know you should, when you know you should address something that you've trained somebody not to do, or they have a problem with the way that they're treating their staff, their fellow staff members or customers. But you don't take action because it feels awkward, because it feels difficult, because maybe it'll go away on its own and I'm just figuring this out. Well, here's the solution, more or less. The solution is to have a little bit more distrust in the rumination and the catastrophizing and worried logic that we have, and have a little bit more faith in action done according to standards and principles that have been set up before you were worried, before you were so emotional about it. In a sober-minded way, you were setting up, these are our values, this is how we make drinks, these are our shift schedules. But then when these things are broken, you get really tense, and then you try to take action on them, but your own emotions make you feel like maybe you shouldn't take action. But that's not true. You should take action. It's just that you should have a little bit more confidence in what you have already decided, and that it's all going to work out. That even if you do confront somebody, you can do it in the most loving way, in the most empathetic way, in a caring and compassionate way. Sometimes the person will just not receive it. And there is an end. There is a limit to how much you should take responsibility for what somebody else refuses to be responsible for. There's a limit. Sometimes you'd be forgiven to think that there's just no limit for that, because the way we talk about leadership, it's always you. It's always you, leader, leader, leader. But sometimes you just have hired the wrong person. Now, of course, we do start with ourselves. We do start saying, well, how did I set this person up to think that this was correct in the first place? Maybe it was inaction on my part to not address it. Once addressed, do they keep doing it? Now this person is proving that in spite of the removal of obstacles of communication or training and in coaching, they are still determined to do things the wrong way or create problems. Now we know that this is a them thing and not an us thing. But I do think that if we can solve this problem of perpetually putting off the things that we need to address until they become very huge issues, then we will we'll mitigate almost all of the issues that really make us feel burned out. Burnout is a symptom of high expectation and low control. You feel that you have an expectation of people, but you have very low control over what those people do. Mainly because we haven't really developed sometimes the best hiring practices. We don't have good communication hygiene. We don't have consequences and structures set up for accountability within the business. And so we emphasize even more our expectations until the expectation gets so huge, and right alongside of that expectation, the lack of control grows more and more. So what I'm asking is that you would take a step back, take a breath, take a look at the things that you just need to look at rather unemotionally, and say, yes, it is wrong for this person to do this, and I will simply talk to them. You've probably thought about it way too much already. You just need to go and do it, and do it in a way that you know is in keeping with your own values in the company. Be the person, be the archetype of the person that you want to see working in your business as you're building other people up who work in your business. And if you approach it that way, and you do so frequently, while you're seeking understanding and while you're not just assuming things, but you're coming alongside people frequently to address what needs to be addressed with a curiosity, like our friend Kwame Christian talks about, compassionate curiosity, what you'll find is that you will cut off a lot of these fires that you have to fight at the pass. You will cut them off from forming in the first place. So that's what I was thinking about, is we have this resistance to maintaining the quality of our culture by allowing too much deviation because of our own discomfort with maintenance, with having these what are difficult conversations, really only because we've kind of made them difficult in our own mind. And once we can get outside of our own head and start making these conversations just a normal reality for our business, they lose their power. The power that we gave them to freak us out, to worry us, to burn us out, that leaves. And that, I think, will help a lot of coffee shops if it's implemented. So that's what I was thinking about today. I hope that's helpful for you. As always, thank you for joining me. Subscribe to the show. Share it with people that you know. Share it on social media, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and et cetera. That really is maybe the best way to help the show spread all over the world for people who run coffee shops. And a huge thank you to any one of you who have done that, as well as rated and reviewed the show on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. So that's it. Thanks, everyone. And I'll see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.